The PBA Summer Tour on ESPN is being brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By HBO, the best in movies, comedy, and boxing. HBO, simply the best. And by McDonald's. You know the one. It's McDonald's for food, folks, and fun. 160 players were on hand at the start of the week. Now just 5 remain. 51-year-old Bobby Meadows from Arlington, Texas will open tonight's championship round by taking on 2-time PBA champion Mickey Spiezio of nearby Crest Hill, Illinois. The winner of that opening test will then advance and face off with John Handegard, making his 3rd consecutive appearance in the championship round. 4-time PBA titleist and ABC Hall of Famer Les Sykes has nailed down the runner-up position, while 52-year-old Dick Beattie of Dearborn Heights, Michigan will need to win just 1 game, the championship match, in order to claim his first ever PBA title. And welcome everyone to beautiful Olympia Lanes, located in Hammond, Indiana, for tonight's championship round finals of the $50,000 Hammond Open. Hi, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner, and welcome to the Hoosier State this evening, Hammond, Indiana. And working with me once again is PBA Hall of Famer Mike Durbin. And Michael, without question, the man of the hour is the lefty, the only lefty in the top 16 or top 24. Dick Beattie, he is our top seed.
And he's a relative unknown to our national television audience, but he's an outstanding regional player. He has 4 regional titles. He's nervous, though, Dan. I saw him early this morning. I said, boy, you're up early. And he said, who slept? So he's going to be nervous tonight, but I still think he's the man to beat.
And a bowler with ice water running through his veins, Les Sykes of nearby Palatine, is number 2.
Outstanding player in the ABC, has 2 national titles, 2 senior titles, known as Mr. Nice Guy on the tour.
Our number 3 seed has no problems qualifying, no problems in match play, but when it comes to the championship round, he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Handegard.
That he certainly is, Denny. His last 2 appearances, he's bowled 160 and 150. Honestly, I think he's just looking to improve on that.
And with 2 PBA titles already to his credit, Mickey Spiezio qualifies number 4 this week.
The most deliberate player in our field, but he can win on TV. He's gone from the bottom to the top before. He'll have to win 4 games tonight.
Bobby Meadows won his first ever PBA championship all the way back in 1972. Can he win in 1990?
Well, it's a long time in between. He bowled regular back in 1972, decided the tour wasn't for him, went back home to Texas. When he turned 50, he tried the senior tour, and he's doing very well.
As an extra feature for our ESPN bowling fans throughout the country tonight, we'll be utilizing Brunswick Bowler Vision Bowler Track. And basically what that is a marvelous technological invention that will allow us to look at speed and also accuracy.
And here we see a shot earlier of Mickey Spiezio shooting the 10-pin, and we can see the trajectory of the ball going over the 3rd arrow, out toward the edge of the lane and back to make the spare. This will tell us how fast the players are throwing it, whether it's consistent, and the trajectory, whether they're really as accurate as they think they are.
And the nice thing is we'll be able to determine what a freckle really is. That's right. Mike Durbin for years has been talking about missing by a freckle. We'll be back with the start of match number 1 here from Hammond, Indiana, which features Mickey Spiezio and long shot Bobby Meadows. The PBA Senior Tour on ESPN coming up next. In Indiana, it's for basketball. Yeah, not the case this week in Hammond, as Mickey Spiezio starts our championship round. Championship pair, lanes 31 and 32.
And Mickey had the choice of what lane he wanted to finish on. He's chosen to finish on lane 32, which means he'll finish last in the 10th frame.
Yeah, looked like he might have stood up a touch on the opening offering, but he leaves the solid 4.
Pretty solid shot, first shot, get it underway in the 1-3 pocket, leaves the 4-pin.
Mickey, with career earnings in excess of $40,000, really has rejuvenated his career among the PBA senior ranks.
Well, he's been a solid performer. He has 2 titles already. Ever since he's come out, turned 50, he's been performing well. Throws the ball relatively straight, keeps it in play.
For those players around the Midwest, of course, they're very familiar with Mickey's exploits throughout the years. A very fine, consistent player here near the Chicago area. Good friend of yours, Bobby Meadows.
Used to work for this gentleman a few years ago. Meadows, a 5-step player, figure 8's the ball.
Comes out.
a little bit and carries the 5 and the 7.
Well, it wasn't one of his best offerings, but it did get the wall shot there, Denny.
An X in the first for Bobby Meadows. John Handegard is our number 3 seed, then Les Sykes and Dick Beattie.
Bobby trying to jump out for a quick double, and there we see that Meadows playing right around a little left of the third arrow, swinging it out 17 miles an hour at the 15-foot mark.
That one worked out pretty nicely as well. Angle tightened up just a little bit, so Meadows, who starts with a double, now leads by 10.
Well, Mickey's right on track with his earnings this year to get up to where he was last year. Oh, what? Did you see that ball hook a little bit about the 45, 50-foot mark and then set right solid in the pocket, but just solid for a 4-9. Mickey, very deliberate player. See how he heel toes every step. Arms out there. Not much of a slide here. The fellows have had a little trouble with the approaches this week.
Takes a little bit too much of the 4, so it's an open frame for Spiezio here in the second.
Not his fault. It was an excellent shot. He just, the 4-9 is a pocket split where the ball drives through too strongly.
What we'd like to point out now, also early on in the telecast, is the fact that we are under siege right now in Hammond, Indiana. A very powerful thunderstorm passing overhead, and hopefully the pictures will continue to Bristol, Connecticut, and all throughout the country. But if we do lose you momentarily, it's more Mother Nature than anything else.
Mickey coming in the wall shot where Meadows carried it. Mickey leaves the 5-pin.
Won his first PBA championship down in Fort Pierce, first senior championship, that is. Also won the senior touring pro doubles when it was held in Green Bay.
And won that with Rowdy Morrow.
That's right. Now Rowdy is his son-in-law.
Kept it in the family.
Sure. Kind of an unusual lean back to start mechanism, his approach. No problem with the 5-pin. So Spiezio, though, finds himself trailing in the early stages in this one by 23. And if Meadows strikes right here, he's got Spiezio on the ropes early on.
Meadows standing left, putting his left foot about on the 30th board, which is the last dot in this bowling center. Again, he's a field player. And he felt him on the Brooklyn side that time. He'll take it.
Shame there, Mr. Meadows, but he'll start with the first 3.
Well, what are you going to do when it crosses over and you get the strike? You got to take it. I learned a long time ago, Dan, that you don't throw those back. And we see here, let's see where it goes, right around the 3rd arrow, breaking too sharply right now, and the 3-pin and pushes into the 6, and the 6 pushes into the 10.
Well, you knew he was going to make some kind of an adjustment after barely hitting the head pin and striking in the first. And this shot hangs a little on him, and he leaves a washout.
Wow, I mean, he was just solid in the second frame on that shot. He's just really confused, it seems, even though he started with the turkey. Switches balls here to keep the spare. He's got several of them out there. There's only 2 players, and they got 5 bowling balls.
An assortment, and he runs it down beautifully. So with a clenched fist, Bobby Meadows starts with the first 3, then falters, but picks up the washout and leads by 33 here in game number 1 of the $50,000 Hammond PBA Open. We'll be back with more of match number 1 after these messages. 60 players to start the week. The overall average just a little under 190. That's a little on the low side for the PBA seniors, but in match play, the high average, as offered by Dick Beattie, better than 225.
Qualifying leader Bill Beach averaged 216 for his first 18 games.
Really bowled well through the first 5 rounds. Had a little problem last night. And a little more arc this time for Spiezio, who strikes on 32. He's going to have to make up for lost time.
I think he's still in this match, Dan, because he's throwing every ball in the pocket. Meadows, during the commercial break, cleaned out his thumb hole, and I think he's fighting that release a little bit. The thumb hole just doesn't feel quite right to him. There we see Mickey right over the third arrow, 17.6 miles per hour. And we see the ball tracking out to about the 10th board and then back to the 17th board, which is the pocket.
Keep in mind that's the 10th board or near the 11th board at 45 feet. Tries to hold pocket. The 4 is gone. The 9 gets nudged, but stands nonetheless.
Almost got the good break.
Well, he's already had one tough break as he left the 4-9 in the second.
Relatively easy spare here. Cross lane at the 6-pin. Well, Mickey didn't let me down. He made it.
He's a fine spare shooter. Also has won a couple of gold medals in FIQ competition. We have a couple of international players on the telecast.
Well, he and Les Sykes, right,
Sure.
Dan, have been outstanding international players. Just dropped that one. It just kind of dumped off his hand. He's just fighting that release. That ball doesn't feel comfortable in his hand. See Bobby with his 5-step approach. See the figure 8. His hand's on top of the ball. Now he turns back around and on the side right here, and just right at that point, it didn't come off clean.
Spare nevertheless on lane 32. It's a 29-pin lead for Bobby Meadows, but I sense you're right, Michael. If Spiezio can catch a double somewhere along the way, he'll be right in the thick of this match.
And Bobby cleaning out the thumb hole with his towel again, trying to get it to feel right. He's really fighting his release. Should mention that he doesn't bevel his thumb at all. A little better release that time.
A little better speed. You could see that he felt like that one might come off a little bit, so he strikes on lane 31. But that is unusual for a player not to bevel or at least sand or reshape a thumb hole.
Right. As we see the reaction here, the ball comes in on about the 18th board, and the 2-pin goes to the sideboard and trips out both the 4 and the 7. The player always likes to see that reaction. Mickey swung it and didn't make it back. Leaves the 2, 4, 5, 8.
Last time on that lane, he gave the ball a little bit of extra room, and it came back and he struck. This time he leaves the bucket.
Might have been just a slight increase in speed or just not quite as clean a release. Tough spare here, Dan. Plus he loses count.
Well, in talking to Hall of Famer Dave Sutar earlier today, he said shooting the bucket this week was very tricky indeed. Spiezio covers it up nicely. And so he spares and trails by 33 as his lovely wife Joan looks on. She's a bit concerned.
She can keep score. She knows Mickey's 33 pins down right at this point. But there's still 4 frames to go.
Shaking her head a little bit, saying, all right, Mr. Spiezio, it's time to crank up the engines.
Right. Mickey leans back.
Then leans forward and comes up with an excellent shot. Really a must shot for him, Michael. At least it gives him an opportunity to string a couple together.
Right. See if Meadows now can get his composure back together on this right lane where he got the wall shot, and that's as close as he's been. He struck on it in the first frame, missed the pocket the last 2 times on this lane.
Well, he liked it when it left, and that was almost a carbon copy of the way he started the championship round.
And he's decided that's not such a bad strike after all. Why fight it?
Key double there for Meadows in the 7th, increases the lead to 43.
And we see the shot here. Ball right over the 3rd arrow. Turning now. Watch the head pin. 4, 5, 7's there. And that's the perfect wall shot. It cleans them out.
You know how many hearts Weber has broken through the years with that shot?
Yep.
Down on one knee. Oh, best shot perhaps of the opening game, and Meadows comes up with a solid 10.
And the last 3 shots, he solved that hand release problem, and the thumb hole is now feeling comfortable, and he's getting out of the ball clean. He's getting a much better reaction. When you don't make that consistent hand release, boy, you just don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get on the lane.
First shot at a 10-pin here for Bobby Meadows in the championship round.
Nailed it. Spiezio in a must-strike situation. Down 42 pins. He's got to bite into that lead, and he's got to do it right now.
Could still shoot 223 if he took this one off the sheet.
Well, the carry.
Yes. I think he's really thrown the ball pretty well here in game number 1. Just a little misfortune.
Well, that 4-9, and he left almost left another 4-9 where he tripped the 4 out and left the 9. We see the reaction from down below here. Mickey looks like a big eagle coming at us from there. Both wings back. It's a great shot, Dan.
Flaps down.
Here's the wall shot. Spiezio says, I can do it. Meadows, you can do it. I can do it.
I know one thing. Mickey would pay dearly for a strike here in the 9th to give himself some kind of an opportunity. Will it hold pocket? Oh, my. What a dandy of a shot.
That's showing why he's won 2 senior titles already, coming through in that kind of pressure situation. Now Meadows knows that he has to double, or at least if he strikes here, spares, and gets a decent count, he'll be a winner. But it puts a little pressure on Meadows.
Meadows could still shoot 245, which would be more than enough to advance him into game number 2.
This is the big shot here. Pretty shot. Boy, he got that in, and it just held pocket all the way.
Well, you mentioned Bobby really is a field player, and he's been trying to figure out lane 32, and without question, that was his best shot.
Right now, he's in the situation, if he gets a spare and 9, he's going to move on to face Handigard.
18 years between appearances in front of a national television audience. It doesn't appear that any rust on Meadows' game.
He's always been an outstanding player.
Oh, he set that one short and got himself a break in leaving just the 3-6 in the 10.
And the thumb went down, the hand went, the fingers went over, and it's just a simple matter of not trusting it. You know, it's the old adage, well, give it room, but not too much.
You have to have courage to bowl in the championship round.
Tough spare here. Boy, he just lofted right at him. That was intentional, Den. He got it out there and just straightened it out. That hand went right behind the ball. Now he needs 9. Watch this spare shot. Now watch, he will not come over the top of this ball. Figure 8's it, but see how he stayed right behind it?
A little more loft for a little less break.
Right.
9 or a strike, and he moves on to the next match. And there it is, a wall shot. So Meadows with a very solid game here in the opening test. Shoots 225, and he closes out Mickey Spiezio.
And 18 years didn't hurt him at all, did it?
No.
He came right back and said, hey, I can still carry that wall shot. It's what I did back in 1972.
It's just like yesterday. As a matter of fact, he's 2-0 in championship round play. Now he's 3-0. Mickey Spiezio will finish up 5th this week and pack the bags and head for Battle Creek, Michigan, which is where the senior players will converge next week for the $50,000 Battle Creek PBA Senior Open at M66 Bowl. And a good friend of ours, Buzz Fazio, going to be on hand there. The buzzer will be around, I'll tell you that.
I remember years ago when I was 15 years old that I kept score for Buzz Fazio when the old Falstaff team came to my hometown.
Well, there was never a more marvelous competitor than Buzz Fazio. A couple of good competitors here, but moving on is Bobby Meadows. He'll take on John Handegard in game number 2 from Olympia Lanes in Hammond, Indiana. It was a turkey out of the gate and then a key double in the 6th and the 7th that vaulted Bobby Meadows over Mickey Spiezio in game number 1. Before we get to game number 2, though, it's Mike Durbin's Average Builders coming up next here on ESPN.
Did you ever have this happen to you? You're ready to let the ball go. You got right to the bottom of the swing, and it slipped off your thumb, and you lost it or dropped the bowling ball. Yet you didn't want to put a piece of tape in the thumb hole because you were afraid you would hang up in the thumb. Or did you ever have the opposite happen? Again, you're ready to let the ball go, but during the course of the evening, your thumb has swollen, and it's gotten a little bit tighter, and as you went to let go, it kind of dragged or stuck on your thumb, and you didn't get a clean release. Yet again, you didn't want to take a piece of tape out because you were afraid you might drop it. Well, I think I have a solution for both problems. Let's look at the loose thumb first. You don't want to put a piece of tape in. As you get up on the approach, try this. All you have to do is blow in the thumb hole. Marshall Holman does this. Mike Albee does this, as you'll see in some of our ensuing telecasts. And what this does is it creates a little moisture in the thumb hole, and that moisture helps me to hold on to the ball for that shot without having to add a piece of tape. Now the other problem, the swollen thumb. During the course of the evening, my thumb has swelled, and now I just can't quite get out of the ball, but I don't want to take that piece of tape out. What I do is I take my bowling towel. If you don't have a towel, you can use a handkerchief, and I take the corner of the towel and put my thumb on it, and then just force it into the thumb hole like this while I'm waiting for my turn. What this does is it compresses the thumb and makes it just a little bit smaller for that one shot so that I can have a clean release like this. Remember, if the thumb is too loose, just blow in that thumb a little bit. If it's too tight, take the edge of your towel, put your thumb on it, force it into the thumb hole for a couple of seconds. That'll shrink it. Be sure and join us next Thursday night, July 22nd, from Battle Creek, Michigan, 7:30 for another Average Builder.
And will the hand grenade explode here in match number 2? John Handegard, who knows? He takes on Bobby Meadows. We'll be back with more from Hammond, Indiana, right after these messages. Meadows matched up here in game number 2 of the $50,000 Hammond PBA Senior Open. The exploits of Mr. Handegard in the championship round, well documented. His overall record 1-9, and he thinks it's about time to end the losing streak.
Well, decent shot. He gave it a little more room than he was in practice. Slid the 5, Dizzy Dean here. Slid the 5 right in front of the 7, didn't get to it.
Nearly slid home, too, didn't he?
Yeah.
We do some sledding outside here in Hammond. We had about 4 inches of rainfall in a
about
15-minute period.
Yeah.
Sure. I saw 2 people pontooning down Main Street just a moment ago. All dry indoors, though. Except for the lane conditioning, that is.
Some of the players say it's dry, too.
Spare up for John Handegard in frame number 1. Bobby Meadows coming off a 225-202 victory over Mickey Spiezio, his opening shot here in game 2. Had 4 strikes on lane 32, so although there were a couple of light hits, he liked the lane.
Got that tight line, the ball just holding pocket on it. It's a highly polished ball, so it's not biting the lane a lot. He's playing what we call the frozen rope. This is Handigard's first frame. We see he's playing closer to the second arrow, swinging the ball out to about the 6th board, throwing the ball at 18 miles per hour. That's a lot of speed.
Interesting that it's only about 16 miles per hour at 45 feet, so you see the friction of the surface slowing down the bowling equipment. Bobby Meadows, nothing slowing him down right now. He started with a turkey in game number 1, comes right out of the chute with a double in match number 2.
And gaining confidence all the way. Really looks good.
John Handegard will not have much time to search for the strike shot.
And we see his hand right behind the ball, where a couple weeks ago we saw it on the side. This is intentional to try and spin the ball a little bit more. Same hit, got the 7-pin out this time.
Very nice reaction for Handigard, who strikes with a light hit.
John, a 4-step player, pushes and steps right at the same time. Right in time. Look at the backswing, just slightly lower than the shoulder high. Very solid at the line. That's how you want to teach it to be done.
Trying to spin the ball just a little more as opposed to rolling it so that you can get the ball down the lane a little further.
You've got the idea, then. Will he carry? Oh, boy, he just can't get a break on TV. He throws a good shot, leaves a 7-pin and then a 10-pin.
Although he has to be feeling fairly comfortable with the fact that he does have a good reaction. You know, what John has been fighting the last couple of appearances in the championship round is not necessarily the lanes as much as the PBA shot clock.
Well, he was worried about the shot clock, so he came down earlier today and practiced and had somebody, his wife, put a clock on him, and he never took more than 18 seconds. That made him relax a little bit then.
Of course, the PBA rule, 25 seconds for the seniors, and if you exceed 25 seconds, hang on. You lose 5 pins and count. It happened earlier this summer to Ski Peremski down in Houston.
Right. Ski, first player to be penalized, 5 pins, but as it was, he shot 247, reduced 5, 242, won the game easy.
Meadows starts with a double, leads by 10. Les Zikes waiting in the wings. Our top seed, Dick Beattie of Dearborn Heights, Michigan.
High on the Brooklyn. Boy, it's either, he's got a good reaction, Dan. It's either solid in the pocket or it goes Brooklyn. So he's got a chance to strike either way.
Let me ask you this, Michael. Using that figure-8 approach and backswing, aren't there a lot of times when that ball gets there and it's turned a little bit early or you turn it a little bit late? You're really operating with some inches there, aren't you?
It's really not the most desired. Why you don't see many players doing it nowadays. It used to be years ago that a number of players did it. But nowadays, a lot of guys are like Handigard. They want to make sure that they're doing everything right and thinking. And here we see him at 17 miles per hour, right over about the third arrow. 15.9 at 45 feet. Just lost a little bit of speed. I think he was at 17.7 the first time.
Boy, this bowler track is a marvelous instructional tool.
Well, it lets you know that you threw it slower or harder.
Much better look at the arc. Left-hand lane. He seems to have a little more hold area on lane 31 as he strikes there now and leads by 9. We'll be back with more of match number 2 from Hammond, Indiana, right after these messages. John Handigard with a spare in the 4th, still trailing by 10. Trying to mount some kind of a charge here. Boy, he's really throwing the ball nicely. He's hitting the pocket with every shot.
Well, he's extending so well. He looks a lot more relaxed and free this time. You see him smiling, and I think he's making a conscious effort to enjoy himself while he's out there. He's already got his last game beat almost. So.
Last 2 games in the championship round, 163, 152, so just about anything has to be an improvement.
Well, he still wants to win.
Meadows with a very nice finesse shot on lane 32, and if Bobby has done anything well here this evening, Mike, it's he's strung together strikes.
And he's taking advantage of opportunities. We get a low action view here. See that follow through out to the right. That's his best shot. When that follow through goes like that little shotgun right, you see the reaction. See how the ball hit the 1-3-5-9 Den? That's what they call the perfect strike. And then the other pins hit other pins to knock them down. So in order to strike, you only have to hit 4 pins. What an easy game, huh?
4 out of 10. That's simple enough.
Right.
Where did I go wrong?
A little hurry.
Flip out to the right. Wall shot. Hand slap for Meadows, who's starting to get fired up here in game 2.
Double spare turkey. Up by 30 pins puts Handigard in a must-strike situation. Pressure is on John right now. Lot of loft. All right, nice shot. Needs one more to cut that lead down to 10. There's his wife, Sue, looking on.
Sue told me there's without question the reason why John hasn't won the last couple of times on television is because I've won blue and white. So tonight I'm going with a different color, and that's obviously the difference.
And he is. He went with pink. Now,
right.
See, pink, they say, is supposed to pacify your opponent. It makes him think that nice, easy, passive thoughts.
So
not working on Meadows. He's not looking at the shirt.
Meadows is colorblind.
That could be.
Trying
Lost it.
for a turkey. Rolls up. May have lost it, Michael, but he was lost and then found.
What a difference, though, between that shot and the shot before. The other one, he had lots of loft. This one came off quickly. Watch it here. Just clean, but not nearly as far on the lane as the other one. But the result was the same.
Must have watched that average builder to get the thumb out of the thumb hole. That one was off in a hurry, and so is Meadows now. In the 7th.
Ooh, great shot. Boy, looked the same as all the others, and the 10-pin stood up there laughing at him.
Boy, that almost reminds me of back in the early 70s, a Don Coco Johnson fall back in there at about 17 or 18. Of course, Coco made the finals this week in front of the old hometown fans from Kokomo, Indiana.
You're talking about 1970 at the Tournament of Champions when he bowled 299, left a 10-pin just like that. I was there. I was on that show, Dennis.
Ringing 10. Of course, you were eliminated early on, right?
Right, yes.
Now let's chart this one on our bowler track and find out how good that shot was, Michael.
Well, the speed was slightly greater. 17.2 is to 17 on the last shot, and 16.1 at 45 feet.
Okay, the interesting thing, too, was he hit 14.5 the last trip. This time he's almost a board further inside.
So it tells you that there is a little oil right there.
Meadows puts the ball down and reloads as he picked up, I think, his spare ball that time.
Right. See if he rushes to try and beat the clock. He's got plenty of time.
Leads by just 9 sticks as Handegard has started to whittle away, and this time the wall shot won't carry, but Bobby will take the standing 5.
Well, he's carried it every other time.
Handegard working on a turkey. Next in line, Les Sykes, an ABC Hall of Famer with 4 PBA titles. And then little-known Dick Beattie is our top seed this week, the only left-hander in the top 24.
Did he bowl well?
Oh, yeah. Very consistent. Getting down to crunch time for Handegard. Let's see how he handles the pressure. If he strikes here, takes over the lead, right?
John's gotten to this situation before, and something bad has happened before. Aloft again. And in held pocket. Did you see that, Denny?
Held pocket. That was Flush City here in Hammond. That was a whistling frozen rope into the 1-3.
I wonder if he is doing that intentionally, lofting on lane 32 and trying to roll it more on 31.
That shot was labeled from the time that it left. It is a little high in the pocket, but with the velocity, it held no problem.
Sometimes you leave a solid 7 on those kind of hits. 9th frame.
Strike here, and it's a 12-pin lead for John Handigard.
Ooh, the 7th pin was the last one to go, but it was rolled pretty. This is the best we've ever seen John look.
You can see he's a little more determined. The smile has been washed away, and now it's a furrowed brow trying to snap that losing streak in the championship round.
Meadows fiddling with his watch, which had come undone. But the clock is ticking while he's fiddling with the watch.
He's had a beautiful touch on this lane throughout the evening, and the snow shovel pile-up strike on 32, and right now Handegard is saying to himself, what next?
Well, John's in a situation, though, that even if Bobby strikes out, the best Bobby can get is 247. John would need the first 1-9 and a spare to win. And the way he's throwing the ball, I think John feels he can do it.
There you see a 5-bagger for Handegard right in the middle here of game number 2. He's come from behind. Meadows could shoot 247.
Oh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Puts him in the 230s and cuts the lead down to 2 pins. That's taking advantage of that good break in the right lane.
He has been the opportunist here this evening.
This one's for the lead, though, Dan. 2, 5, and 8. Just a little more speed is what I think.
Maybe a little more juice that time, huh? The adrenaline flowing.
Here we see it. Over the third arrow, but it doesn't grab the lane till too late.
Snapped that one pretty good. You can see he was trying to give it some room. The thing you have to like about that shot is it definitely went right. He was trying to strike.
Didn't pull it.
Never a hint of that. A game of 234, which 9 times out of 10 takes you to the semifinal match, but it may not be so tonight.
John up 5 pins. He's got 5 pins in count to play with, so he needs a mark with good count. Pretty. He ends the losing streak. John says, all right. So does Sue.
She knew all along it was the color of the dress, not the equipment, not the angles, not the roll. See how scientific this game is? Well, actually, we're all a bit relieved. I know John is. He's an outstanding player, and he has really struggled under the lights and the heat of the national television audience. But this evening, thus far, he has bowled brilliantly. Funny, I sat with him in the press room last night. As you see, Bobby Meadows with a terrific performance ends up 4th. And in talking to John, he said, you know, I've talked to a lot of great players, and they've all gone through the ups and downs of television bowling. And he said, I'm on a down streak right now. And I said, hey, you're liable, once you win, to win 8 or 10 or 12 in a row, too. It can flip around. That happened to you.
Well, I went from 72 through 79, never won a game. And then I won in Syracuse and won like 16 out of the next 19. So.
Well, throwing the ball like that, he may just win a dozen in a row. Handegard with a marvelous game number 2, a game of 258, as he knocks off Bobby Meadows 258-234. Coming up next, though, before the semifinal game, a look at bowling news this week from Hammond. And welcome back to Olympia Lanes, located in Hammond, Indiana. And you know, the PBA Senior Tour is still in its infancy. However, at this point in time, Hall of Famer Dick Weber has already earned nearly $140,000 in career prize money. Let's take a look at the top 5. The Splendid Splinter, who finished 16th here this week in Hammond, continues to lead his good buddy Titus Semez by nearly $20,000. PBA and ABC Hall of Famer Carmen Salvino is still number 3, while Les Sykes and Billy Walden make up the rest of the top 5. Thus far in 1990, Earl Anthony, with 2 victories and 3 starts, leads the way, with earnings in excess of $22,000. John Hersina is still number 2, while Titus Semez, John Handigard, and Robert Gibbs, all finalists this week, round out the top 5. Hersina is also the top pin producer on the PBA Senior Tour. John is averaging nearly 2 pins more per game, as is Titus Semez at this point. Jimmy Certain, with 1 PBA Seniors title to his credit, is number 3, while John Handegard and Earl Anthony fill out the upper echelon. The Bowling Writers Association of America each month selects the outstanding bowler in the world, and it isn't very often that a PBA senior player is accorded this outstanding honor. However, the BWAA's selection in this past month is John Hersina, by virtue of his outstanding win in the AMF Bobcat Open, which was held over in St. Charles, Missouri. Hersina edged out such standouts as Hugh Miller, Earl Anthony, and Chris Warren. Marshall Holman represented the sport of bowling in fine fashion by finishing in a tie for 14th place in the Celebrity Golf Tournament, which was held this past week over in Lake Tahoe. For his effort, the Medford Meteor earned $7,000, and on the final day posted the tournament's best score, a 1 under par 71. The event was won by Washington Redskins quarterback Mark Ripien. So congratulations to Marshall Holman for his outstanding effort. That's a look at bowling news this week from Olympia Lanes in Hammond, Indiana. Bowling News is brought to you by Pizza Hut, home of pan pizza that's winning the hearts of America. Pizza Hut, making it great. Celebrities have turned out in full force here this evening. The Honorable Mayor of Hammond, Tom McDermott, a guest, enjoying the bowling action. As we're ready for the start of match number 3, a rejuvenated John Handigard with a blistering 258 ends the long losing streak.
And, you know, the players have had a little bit of trouble with the approaches all week long, so the maintenance crew has buffed the approaches, and they felt they were a little bit slick tonight. John said he went through 4 pair of shoes to find the right one, and Les has changed shoes again. He's struggling a little bit with the approaches in his practice balls as Handigard begins with a strike.
After 9 strikes in game number 1, 8 in a row at one point, Handegard opens up the semifinal with a strike of his own. Needing a break right off the bat, leaving the 3 and the 6, does Les Sykes.
Les, a 5-step player, holds the ball in the middle of his body, takes the step. Now he pushes the ball. Ball's right in time. Slightly lower than shoulder-high backswing. That one he just tried to get off his hand. He wasn't comfortable with anything.
Told me as of late he doesn't feel like he's bowling particularly well, although he's starting to come out of a little bit of a slump. One of the solid performers in his years on the PBA Senior Tour.
And 17 miles per hour, and he hit the 15th and a half board. I think he's probably aiming just right of that, a little bit high on that particular shot. It's interesting, the players are all right around 17 miles an hour, Dan.
Mm-hmm. National touring players would what, be an average of about 19, do you think? Maybe even more.
No, I don't think they'd be throwing that hard.
Okay.
It's because most of them are hooking the ball more than that.
Oh, that's true.
And when you cover more boards, as Les covers all the pins.
And then covers his heart. Let's hope he makes it through the semifinal game.
Right. When you cover more boards like that, it slows the ball down a lot of times. Right through the heart of the pins here. See what hits what here. You have the 6, 7, 10 standing. 6-10 falls, and the pin leans on the 7 pin, and it falls. Everything fell.
Handegard just peppering the pocket, leaves the soft 10. Now Zikes' strike has to be termed as a WHW strike then. A what hits what?
Another one of those shots is we see Handegard wiping his thumb on his shirt. He just never got out of that thumb hole cleanly at that particular shot. He's fiddling with it. Got such a good line to the pocket, though, that even though he didn't let it go cleanly, it still wound up in the 1-3 and had a chance to strike.
Well, you can see his confidence growing with each and every strike in his opening game. I think many of the players, not only on the national tour when John was playing out there full time, but on the senior tour, have been waiting and wondering when he is going to win an event. And the gentleman that made this all possible, John Loxus, the proprietor, there you see him right behind Les Sykes here at Olympia Lanes, and he is a bowling fanatic, really enjoys the professional game as the seniors are here, and of course the Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour will be here in the fall.
Lost that one again. Boy, that early release on that left lane, I'm beginning to think it is definitely intentional because it just rolls flush right in the pocket.
Ah, there's a better shot of John. Really enjoys professional sports of all types, but of course here at Olympia Lanes, located just about 30 minutes from downtown Chicago.
Trying for the double. Ooh, better shot. Came in on the old wall shot that we've seen several times tonight by Bobby Meadows. Didn't carry it. Leaves the 5 pin.
Avid Cubby and Yankee fan.
Wants to come in light here. The ball deflects to the right. The head pin goes to the left sideboard. Hits the 4 and the 7. And the 4 misses the 5.
Les would have loved to have carried that wall shot. A double would have put him up in the match. A marvelous amateur career. He competed in 3 FIQ World events, winning 8 gold medals. As a matter of fact, I think without question, he's the most decorated amateur player in bowling as far as the U.S. contingent is concerned.
Already a member of the ABC Hall of Fame.
And his son Lyle, a very good friend of mine. We worked together on the PBA tour for many years in the press area. And of course, he has just authored a marvelous series in the Bowler's Journal, an instructional series called Back to Basics. If you haven't yet seen that, pick up a copy of the BJ, because you'll learn something about the game. It's funny, I was kidding Les. He says, you know, I really haven't been bowling very well. I don't know what the problem is. I said, well, just read Back to Basics, Les. He said, you know, I started to read it, but I've been putting it down. I said, hey, you got to pay attention to your kid.
That's what my kids always say, too.
Well, we know the problem there, obviously. What's the best advice your parents ever gave you? Never listen to your parents, right?
No, I don't think that was it, no.
Cross lane, stands up a touch, but the 10-pin goes. Zikes with a smile, Handegard concerned. We're here in the semifinal game of the Hammond Open. We'll be back with the conclusion of game number 3 right after these messages.
Want to get in on the action? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball. It's all at Ray's Island Sports.
John, right over the second arrow, about the 10.5 board, and a solid 10. You saw that going down. You said it was an X, and we see he's throwing right at 18 miles an hour, just hitting the second arrow almost perfectly. It wasn't his fault that it didn't fall down.
My next question is, whose fault is it then? What do you do?
It's the pin's fault, and they're the wives together. Mary Kay and Sue.
Yep. Battling it out.
Two of the nicest guys on the senior tour, but battling it out here.
Without question. Turned that one early. Will it roll up? How about the wall shot? And Les Sykes says, hey, better late than never.
He said, I should have carried it back in the other frame. Back in the third frame. Again, the ground view. Les with that elbow breaking just a little bit as he tries to help the ball back. The result is it comes in light. The head pin goes to the sideboard, hits the 4 and the 7, and this time the 4 hits the 5.
Head pin with some acrobatic moves.
Zikes for the lead.
Good speed on this shot.
Good shot all the way. Boy, both players are getting wrapped in this game. Les leaving that 4-pin.
Well, Handigard has yet to miss the pocket thus far in the championship round.
Well, it's nice the people at home are getting a chance to see John bowl like we see him bowl every week on the senior tour.
Yeah, for the last month, everybody sitting in the armchair has been going, I could beat that guy. He's only shooting 160 and 150, but he's really a terrific player and has been for many years.
And there's our tournament director here, the regional director of the PBA, headquarters regional director, Al Thompson. He's going to be having a new bowling center down in Zanesville, Ohio.
Be spending some time there working at that new center. Busy, as a matter of fact. I'm not so sure he's even going to get a chance to bowl in Battle Creek next week, but I'll tell you, John Handegard and Sue will be in Battle Creek.
Well, right now they're thinking about winning this game and this tournament. He has such a good reaction. Every ball is just winding up right in the 1-3.
Meanwhile, Dick Beattie standing by, having to wait the better part of an hour to bowl his first ever championship game.
John up by 11, trying to make it 21. A little more time. Oh, there it is again. The 4-7-10. That's the first time he missed the pocket, and he pays the full penalty.
Well, if you could see at that time, he didn't set the ball down early on the left-hand lane.
And again, it looked like it was just inside that second arrow this time, and he's already down on knee saying hold, and it didn't.
So the 4-7-10 pops up in the 7th, and what would have been a 21-pin lead.
Oh, that was a mistake.
Is diminished. Losing pins and count.
Right. He lost 2 pins and count on that. Puts him down 6 pins in the match now. Would have only been down 4 if he'd gotten 9 out.
Sykes trying to take advantage, didn't like the shot, nearly tripped out the 4-pin.
I don't know what he's saying, but whether he's talking to Lyle or Mary Kay or just to himself.
Well, without question, he's retired more times than Muhammad Ali. Every time you speak to him, well, I'm going to quit bowling. I got to quit bowling. I just can't bowl anymore.
Is that what he said?
Oh, yeah.
Real positive, huh?
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, he makes another telecast, wins another title. Yeah, I'll give it another year, he says. Really a fun guy. The Steve Nagy Award winner on the PBA Tour for the nice guy.
He let it go. And here's his reaction to it. Got the pursed lips, hands out. Oh, is it going to hold? Really? Oh, well, I'll take a 4-pin.
Up by 5 as we enter the home stretch here in the semifinal game. The winner takes on Dick Beattie for the title here in Hammond.
Good speed on that shot. The ball held pocket. Now he puts Handigard on the defensive. Down 5 pins. He's got to regroup and reload. Has to hurry. Hit the 10-pin, but didn't knock it over. Here's Les's shot. It's 16.9 miles per hour. Didn't diminish much as it went down the lane either, Denny. 15th and a half board. The difference, they're both playing, well, one's playing 5 boards left of the other.
It's interesting you mentioned the speed didn't diminish that much, but the ball didn't hook as much. So obviously there's a correlation there.
And John, who was cruising along that 7th frame, being his undoing, needs to have a foundation strike here. He still has a potential score of 213, but he's got to have something here in the 9th frame.
Last trip was the 4-7-10.
Good speed. Good reaction. Boy, his extension was so good on that one, Den. He just got through that shot all the way. Now he's got to hope that Les doesn't double.
Les Sykes with a possible 228. Could finish this one off early if he strikes out.
Well, actually, he needs a strike here in the first one in the 10th and a decent count to close him out. Trying to get loose. Just didn't hook back, and he thought it would. Leaves the 2-pin. Mary Kay looking on. Boy, he's upset. Now he knows that Handegard can strike out and win the match, no matter what Les does.
Key now, though, to maintain composure, pick up the spare, and try and strike out in the 10th.
Right. Trouble with the approach that time, but he got the spare. Here we see 5 pins the difference, but the big thing is Handigard has the hammer in the 9th frame.
Now for Zikes, best possible score, 208. Handigard coming off that 258-234 victory over Bobby Meadows has slowed down some here in the semifinal.
Well, that one shot in the 7th frame really took the steam out of his engine. Good speed.
Interesting thing there, when you see the arm swing go to the right like that, you know it's a pretty good shot.
Right. Les has a tendency to vary his follow-throughs. And when that elbow breaks and the hand goes in front of the face, he's trying to help the ball back. He trusted that one all the way. This increases the lead to 15 and makes Handigard get 2 in the 10. elbow break. There's the light hit. He tried to help that one back. See, that's the difference of the heartbeat beating just a little bit harder and just not able to respond to the pressure situation the way you would really ideally want to, the way he did the first ball on the 10.
Stepping back to take a look at the electronic scoring. And so for Les Sykes, after he takes out the 7, then salutes the crowd, it's a game of 198. Handegard has to strike.
Needs the first one, then. Will it carry? Yes, what a nice shot. Now he needs 6 and a spare, is that right?
Handegard with a clutch strike in the 9th and a picture-perfect toss in the 10th is starting to gain his confidence now. You can see it brimming as maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago he might have missed the pocket under that kind of pressure.
Needs 8, and he has 10. He's moving on.
Very aggressive and excellent 10th frame for John Handegard, who will take on our top seed Dick Beattie here for the championship of the Hammond Open. We'll be right back with the title match after this. To you by Midas. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. And let's pick up the action in the 10th frame of game number 1.
Bobby Meadows needing a strike here. Throws what we call the frozen rope. That's the best kind of strike. 10 in a pit, Denny.
Very determined Bobby Meadows, and he went on to defeat Mickey Spiezio in the opening match, 225 to 202 after a turkey and also a double. And then as we move on to game number 2 in the championship frame, this time it was Handegard.
Needing the strike. What a nice ball. That ball finished right at the pocket. John needed a good count, and that's the best kind of count, is 10 is what he needed.
Yeah, when you throw 10 in the pit, you really lock him up. That, of course, was the first strike in the 10th, the beautiful 258-234 victory for Handegard over Meadows. And then in game number 3, the semifinal, we're right back to the 10th frame. All these matches have been close.
Right down here. And this time he had to strike or he would lose. It wasn't just a good count. He had to strike. Boy, about 10 and a half board, that's where he's been hitting all day. And it was 10 in a pit. He couldn't have thrown it any better than that.
And then he went on to win the semifinal game over Les Sykes, 212 to 198. So for John Handegard, who had lost 8 consecutive matches in the championship round, he has now won back-to-back, 212 to 198. Championship frame has been brought to you by Midas and its dealers across the country. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. And just 2 players remain now here in Hammond, Indiana. They will vie for the championship and the first place prize of $5,000 when we return.
Seattle Seahawks. This year they mean business. The Broncos battle the Seahawks in the American Bowl Saturday night, August 4th, live on ESPN.
Dick Beattie, our top seed, after a long week here in Hammond, doesn't waste any time here to start the championship game. The first look at a southpaw this evening. He starts with a beautiful strike.
And the heart is pumping. You can see he's nervous, but he's got such a simple game, and he's got a good line to the pocket. He's making Handigard finish on the other lane. John has finished his 2 previous games on lane 32. Now he's going to have to finish on 31.
So although Beattie hasn't yet made an appearance in the championship round, he's got the strategy down.
Well, the only trouble John has had was that split on the left lane. Good speed. Boy, he looks so determined, so strong. He's been in this situation before, though, and just never won. We remember back in the late 1970s in Salt Lake City when he was up by over 250 pins with 3 games to go and wound up losing that tournament.
To Wayne Chester, as a matter of fact. That was one of the toughest losses I've ever witnessed on the PBA National Tour. There was no television show. It was a summer tour event. But he's been trying to win ever since. And he comes storming out of the starting gates with a strike.
And here's Dick Beattie, 17-6, hitting the 4th and a half board. Again, he only loses about a little less than 1 mile per hour from 15 feet to 45.
Well, it's really been an interesting look. Our boulder track, ringing 7-pin this time for Beattie.
Very simple approach. 4 steps, gets the ball down very quickly. Quick steps to catch up with it. Shoulder high backswing, head pretty steady. And trouble, misses the 7-pin. That's nerves, Denny. That's just simply nerves.
Perhaps too fast. Beattie basically dashing up there to shoot the 7-pin, and then the championship round, you have to keep your wits.
Well, he switched balls, Denny, and there's a slightly different feel. He shot him in practice. He didn't want to pull it by, gave it too much room, and it falls off in front.
Back to live action. That one through the nose, as one would expect after an unforced error in the title match. Meanwhile, Handegard sitting coolly, resting on the laurels of a double in the first 2 frames.
And Dick, boy, he grabs that spare shot, and he's up shooting it before the other one gets back. Makes this one.
And applauds himself for the spare effort on that trip. John Handigard asking now for a re-rack on lane 32. And while we do have a pause in the action, we'd like to thank 3 gentlemen, Jim Russell, Tom Fee, and also Bob McCauley, all of the Brunswick Bowling Division. They are the gentlemen who have supervised and run our boulder track this evening. And we want to thank them personally, and of course the Brunswick Corporation, for allowing us to utilize Boulder Vision.
Right now, John's not thinking about bowler vision, color vision, or anything. He's thinking about strike vision.
He has been focused all evening. Let us see if he can continue. And he does. He is a handful right now. A lot of frustration over the last 3 or 4 years in the championship round. He's taking it out right now on Dick Beattie.
Did I hear right? You said Handigard is a handful?
Yes, I did.
I was just trying to get that straight.
You know, his nickname is Hand Grenade. You could say Handegard the Hand Grenade is a handful.
Trying for 4. Oh! Sue's right. It's the different color dress.
Now you watch. Every wife who bowls, or I should say every player whose wife watches over the next 3 or 4 weeks will be wearing, what is she wearing tonight, by the way? Is that
kind
like
of a pink and red
combination? Is that what that's called? What do we know about color?
I don't know. My wife doesn't let me out of the house without checking me. So
another 7-pin for Beattie, and the last trip on lane 32 was a memorable one for him. He wastes little time.
Says thank you. I made the 7-pin, but he's falling further and further behind. Handegard at 17.6. Boy, he swung. You see the difference? He got that out to the 8th board, 8th and a half. That's 2 boards right of where he has been aiming. When you get that kind of reaction, Dan, you can swing it and it comes back solid in the pocket. Boy, does that free up your swing.
Well, especially when you know you've got 2 or 3 board area out there to work with, and your opponent is also struggling. And for Beattie, the big 4 pops up on lane 31, and that spells a real disaster.
And John Handegard right now is already counting the money and saying, change my name from red to black on the scorecard, or the scoreboard. For those that don't know, all the champions have their names in black on our scoreboard in the bowling center, and the non-champions are in red, and John has had his in red his whole career.
And of course, a banner will be hung as well for each new PBA champion, and if there's a guy out here that deserves one, I would venture to say this gentleman is.
One more? Yes.
Well, he is doing it with style, wouldn't you say?
Boy, it's only have one ball out of the pocket. That smile on Sue's face. She's not really satisfied yet that he has enough. You can kind of see she's really happy. But give one more, John.
13 career perfectos. Wouldn't you like to win your first title by shooting 300?
Well, I'll tell you what, as good a line as he has in the pocket, it's going to take a tap, I think, to stop him.
A half dozen in a row. Handegard with smiles all around. Meanwhile, Dick Beattie at this point in time just trying to get out of the way.
Right. It's 79 pins and gaining, so.
And if you're Dick Beattie, you're saying, how in the world can this happen to me? I've bowled so well all week long, and another split, and sometimes even the best laid plans.
You know, John Handigard has paid his dues out here. He's had these games that Dick Beattie is having right now, and sometimes you have to go through that.
The last couple of weeks he's had them. 163, 152.
It was interesting. After the first game, John came back to us. He says, I raised my average.
The other thing that was funny was earlier tonight before the telecast, he looked up to me and he said, Denny, he said, please, say something nice about me tonight. And I said, well, John, all you have to do is win, and we'll do nothing but chat about you.
So we're saying nothing but nice things about Handegard. Hand grenade. I can't say it.
Hand grenade.
Hand grenade. Handegard.
Ah, there's the adjustment on 31. Dick Beattie right now is just trying to finish things off and figure out how he's going to make the finals next week in Battle Creek.
I know. Handegard is thinking about a couple more strikes.
Leads by 90.
I think he feels safe.
I do. Well, you want to talk about being aggressive. He's just slashing away at the pocket right now.
Well, he slipped on that shot and then hung in the thumb and still struck. Watch him here. It's way up, bounces it out there, comes in light, and just saws him. 7 in a row, going for 8. Great shot. Couldn't get a break and trip that 4-pin.
Well, he is savoring this moment without question. It has been a long and arduous journey. And a select few know what it feels like to win
A PBA tournament.
Mm-hmm. It's a special feeling. Well, Dick Beattie could still shoot 200. Fortunately, that's going to be probably about 79 pins short.
Well, it's already short.
That's what you like to see. Bouncing back from adversity as Beattie continues to try and enjoy himself in the throes of disaster here in the championship game.
Well, again, what are you going to do?
Well, it's a marvelous learning experience to lead an event. At least you know what that's like. There's a tremendous amount of pressure involved there. Then have to wait in the wings to come on to the title match and bowl against a guy that you know has got the hot hand.
Well, he started with a strike and left that 7-pin. If he carried that, it could have been different. Handigard, who already has the game won. If he throws every ball in the channel from now on, he already has 209. And the best Beattie can get is 200, so it's a winner no matter what.
If you'd have told John Handegard he'd have been a winner after 8 frames, he'd have probably laughed at you earlier this evening, but he is on glide control right now as the 7-pin wobbles but remains. And we'll take a break as Handegard wins his first ever PBA championship. He'll remember it well here at Olympia Lanes in Hammond, Indiana. We're kind of finishing out the championship game because it's already over, but for John Handegard, it's basically just beginning.
Well, we never know. We told him, you know, if he can finally win, he may never lose again, and I know what that feeling is like. And John, now we'll have that confidence, and there's the smile of victory. Dick Beattie got 4 in a row to finish with 188.
Nice comeback for Beattie, who finishes up second. But I think the real story here this evening is perseverance, playing against the odds, never giving up on yourself. And John Handegard has been here many, many times, and now he will step into the PBA's winner's circle for the first time in his career. As here comes Sue, and without question, there'll be no more blue and white in that family. Gorgeous trophy, and we'll be back with a quick presentation from Olympia Lanes here in Hammond, Indiana. The check being presented by the proprietor, John Luxus. And there you see, 258, 188.